So here we're going to be talking about the cough reflex. So here we have food aspirated through the trachea, and it stimulates a special kind of a cell called the neuroendocrine cell. And this neuroendocrine cell secretes ATP, which stimulates the ATP receptor located on the afferent neuron. And this loops back and gives you the cough reflex. And by the way, there is a medication called Gefapix. It inhibits, antagonizes this ATP receptors, and so it can work as a cough suppressant. So here we have a comparison. When we have this aspiration, we have two types of cells. There are cells located in the upper airway, and there are cells located in the lower airway. So the cells located in the upper airway, it causes aspiration to acids, whereas in the lower airway, it has to do with the mechanical protection. So here we are again comparing the upper and the lower airway cells. So the cells in the lower airway, we notice that the neuroendocrine cells are rounded and clustered, whereas in the upper airway, it is solitary and its snout has snout-like luminal projections. So here we can see that the density of the neuroendocrine cells in the upper airway, it's dense, as you can see here, whereas in the lower airway it's sparse. In the lower airway, the action potentials recorded was single, whereas in the upper airway it has multiple action potentials. As we said, the pulmonary airway has to do with mechanical protection, and this has to do with the piezo receptor. So as you can see here in the lower airway, pulmonary, we have a recording in the piezo receptors, whereas these recordings are absent in the upper airway. And this again shows the same thing. In the wild type lower airway, there are high recordings, whereas in the knockout, there is no recording. So here we have this neuroendocrine cell, and as we said, it secretes ATP, which can be sensed by what is called an ATP sensor. It's like the afferent neuron we've talked about. So when we stimulate the neuroendocrine cell by a negative 10 millivolt pulse, you can see that the ATP sensor show a signal. Here, this confirms the normal anatomy. The superior laryngeal nerve gets signals from the larynx only, whereas in the recurrent laryngeal nerve, it gets signals from both the larynx and the trachea. So here we have a comparison. As we said, we have here this aspirated food particles, and here we have the taste cells versus the neuroendocrine cells. So the taste cells in the mouth, it causes an expiratory reflex, whereas the neuroendocrine cells activates a cough reflex. The expiratory reflex prevents substances from entering the airways, whereas the cough reflex, it expels substances. Thank you so much.